Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a DVD dev update video. So, looks like the devs have decided to drop an update on basically what they changed from the PTB, and this will be coming when it comes. I skimmed through it. Everything looks good. And, everything looks good. I'll keep it positive for a second and I'll get to my concerns at the end. First, we have Skull Merchant. We saw that Skull Merchant existed in the PTB. Needless to say, she was kind of crap. Uh, yeah, it was just terrible. I don't know what they were thinking, but from the looks of it, they've done some changes that are unique and actually, I think, will add power to her kit. And shout out to the one content creator that was defending her honor. I think now she's thematic. So, Skull Merchant, to make sure that she can kind of exist. At first I was reading this and I'm like, oh no, they're going to make it so that they rotate counterclockwise. Because them rotating clockwise was an issue. To remedy this, Skull Merchant can now toggle the direction of her drones rotate while using her radar. And you don't get slowed down while using it. This is cool. This is really dope, and I think that'll get people like to switch up like in the loop instead of just running. That's amazing. Now, mind you, from what I've read so far, it's not like it's going to start seeing through loops, which I think is possibly the other big issue. Is like, well, if it still needs line of sight, how good can it be? Especially on certain maps where there's just a bunch of hullabaloo everywhere. I don't know. But this is a start, and I like that it's unique. They didn't just go, well, now when she throws a drone, you get haste again, or something like that. I'm tired of them trying to remedy things with haste. So I like this change. This is actually nice. Next, they found drone management. We found drone management to be a little stressful, largely since recalling the drone will put your power on cooldown. To address this, you can now recall them at any time, and recalling the drone no longer incurs a cooldown. They learned this lesson the first time around. I'm not giving them a round of applause for this because this is stupid that they added it back. Like, that was dumb. That was pretty darn dumb. Like, what? Why did you add that back? You already knew that this was. You already knew. We've learned this lesson the first time around. So, no applause there. That was just you all being less stupid. Eyes in the Sky. More changes to the drones, of course. Increase the drone's radius to 10 meters from 8. Good. Uh, I'm trying to visualize in my head if this makes much of a difference. In my head, my first reaction was, why not make this 12 or 11? But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how this looks. Can't really say off the bat if this is significant or not. Doesn't seem like it, but I'm willing to be wrong on this one, or prove more beneficial than not. Increase the drone's rotation speed in stealth mode to 60 degrees per second was 50. Sure. In stealth, I don't think that this was the one that actually is going to make any difference, if I'm being honest with you. But hey, a buff is a buff. You'll take that. This, in scouting mode from 85 degrees per second, was 75. This is better. I don't think this is breaking speed. Maybe want to make it 90. But again, I'll have to see how fast that rotation is in action before I make any final judgment on the speed. But buffs are nice. It was too darn slow in the PTB. So yeah. Lastly, to give Skull Merchant more control when deploying a drone, the beams now face directly in front and behind of her by default, allowing skilled bad guys to scan survivors as soon as they're deployed. We have also decreased the drone's initialization time to zero point 0.3 seconds from 1.5, so they activate more quickly and feel more responsive. This is the thing that I think is the biggest, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, plus the rotation, able to change the rotation. and again, this should have just happened, so I'm not including that. But this making it so that yes, if people are looking at the survivor, they have a way of, well, you're about to be in some trouble immediately instead of just like, hey, in 1.5 seconds, you better hope you're not around here anymore. Like, that is enough time for a lot of people to lithe over something in depth, or something like that. So, point three is good. And I would be willing to actually try her now to try to become a skilled bad guy to scan as soon as they're deployed. I think that's a nice change and adds actually some skill stealing to the character. Hopefully, this will make her feel better and more consistent now that her drones can't be used to defend gens. Next, anti face camping. Yeah, this was, again, I liked it, but there were definitely things that I was like, okay, we can't be doing that. So, first, they're adding a grace period, a 7-second grace period before the meter starts filling after hooking a survivor. This is good because I was complaining about what if I'm Trickster and I need to reload that, yeah, and I need to kick a gen 2. That's just good. If I need to reload at a locker or kick a gen. I do really appreciate the 7-second grace period. Especially if you saw my last night video before this. There was times where technically I guess you say, "Oh, that's camping," but like I'm just throwing a guard in a different direction to start applying pressure. So was my intention to be like, "Oh, I'm going to face camp this person?" No, but I wanted to use my power to get some pressure on the map and something like that. So, this is nice. I wouldn't be opposed to them making this 5 because let's see, it now will take 3 to reload and then kick the gen. I can see this going down to 5 later, but I'll take the 7. Next, downed and carried survivors. At first, they did not influence the fill rate of the meter. The former led to some awkward scenarios where a downed survivor with a perk that allowed them to pick themselves up could force the bad guy to stay nearby, with the latter both exacerbated that strategy as well as punishing the bad guy for hooking multiple survivors in the basement. Therefore, being down will slow the meter as though they were still standing, so long as they are in the area, and carried survivors now pause the progress bar completely. The carried, awesome. I love that. I didn't know that it didn't pause it before. I guess I didn't really think about that too tough. So I like that. Um, Down will slow the meter as though they were standing, so as long as they are in the area. That's also a good change. Now, what to do with that? I think I don't see this being terrible off rip. I think there's still going to be some situations in which we have to see how slow it is because I'd personally like it to be paused completely. That personally, because I feel like that means like they went down somehow, right? Like that means I'm doing something. So I'd appreciate pause, but we'll have to see how slow that is. Or else they might still be able to just completely take advantage of the fact that, oh well, the bar is filling and I can pick myself up and things like that. So we'll see. Not a bad change at all. I like this. Good. Verticality. In a later update, the meter will be weighted more heavily towards horizontal distances than vertical. Um, at first, they were making it so that indoor maps were kind of abysmal for the bad guy because if you were above somebody, technically it was like you're camping. We'll have to see how later this update is. Uh, until I see that, I'm not gonna say much more on it. I feel like that was a no-brainer from the start, so this should have been implemented from the start. Perk changes. Furtive Chase. When hooking the Obsession, gain undetectable and a 5% haste status effect for 18 seconds at max. And it still has the Obsession changing mechanic of the Rescuer becomes the Obsession. This is better than what it was. Is it useful? Is it worth the perk slot? Could be. Like, if you actually use Game of Foot, no. Okay, so here's the problem, right? The problem with this is nothing around the obsession mechanic is good enough to warrant it lately. Except for exclusively playing Myers, who has a bonus stalking to the obsession. Um, so outside of that one bad guy, there's not many things that incentivizes you to a good point for focusing on the obsession. The biffle literally makes it so that, hey, you probably don't want to chase the obsession. And then Game of Foot is kind of so jank that there's no reason to put it on to try to get the obsession. And then Nemesis means that you have to eat a stun from a pallet, so that's also like not a good one. Apologies if you hear that in the background, but it's not worth it. Now, if they end up changing something like Game of Foot and like Nemesis, where it's just like the person you're in chase with after 5 seconds becomes your obsession for Nemesis instead of having to eat a stun, and like Game of Foot, just if you basic attack the person, they become your obsession. That would be good, and then I would use Furtive Chase more. I'll probably make a build with this just for the heck of it, but I don't really see it being that amazing. Background player. I thought the buff that they did in the PTB was enough, but apparently not. They're making it so that you are now going to be 200% speed for 5 seconds. That's insane. Um, yeah, that's just insane. Is it going to be busted? I don't think so. But it's also going to be very hard to get away from this at the same time, right? Like, this is going to be a perk that does reward people for making the right play in the time to get their teammate, with the flashlight, whatever, right? With a flashbang. And I can't fault that. However, I worry about the 200% because is this going to be one of those situations in which the bad guy kind of has nothing they can do, right? If somebody, you know, successfully, you hit somebody, they go down, okay? They're not next to a wall, so you can't just look at a wall to not get blinded if you pick them up immediately. And if you do the check around, like, hey, is there any flashlights around? And the person crossed to a pallet, 200% is going to get them to the pallet stun too. Probably. So this could get out of hand, but at the same time, it's better than running MFT, right? So I don't know. I don't like it, but I like it at the same time. Yeah. Then Trapper. Trappers, bear traps will spawn closer to gens. This way you have to stray less from your usual patrol routes than before to collect a trap. Unfortunately, we weren't able to squeeze this change into the initial release, but this will be a part of one of the smaller patches in the coming weeks. Don't know how you're not able to fit this in, but you're able to do a brand new mechanic for the merchant with toggling directions and whatnot, and reworking Furtive Chase. Don't know how you're not able to fix the spawns of bear traps quicker, but sure, I'll take your word for it. That just doesn't. Now, if you're like, okay, Monster, duh, of course they can't do this too because you just talked about the things that they spent dev time on. The perk hoarder apparently will change the spawns of certain things. So like, there's code here for this. I don't. Again, good, but how is this not able to? I want to know how it's not able to. If somebody on the dev team could be like, look, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. We forgot. Like I'd be like, all right, cool. But I just don't understand how you're not able to also fit this in. because this is literally just spawning zones. It's like totems, like I don't know, I don't know. So, and then finally, Shattered Square. We have reviewed the loops in question and slightly reduced the number of pallets which spawn. Again, duh, right? Like that's my big thing with all of this. Is there's some things that are just duh, which is makes it very hard to compliment when they do changes and they quote unquote listen. But you've made these turnarounds, which means they obviously okay. Look, you've made a significant turnaround from how crap the Skull Merchant was in the PTB, and affected a new mechanic quickly from the PTB that just happened. But then you're going to tell me that you weren't able to fit in trap spawns and this map that, after redoing other maps like whatchamacallit, the bird map, was that out yet before? Okay, maybe not. But like if you are learning, as you should be, that you have to keep redoing your newer maps, that's kind of stupid, right? And the fact that they're releasing in these states, and everybody told you in the PTB that this was absurd. Like everybody told you before that this was ridiculous and called it the game 2.0, like because it was just bigger and the same amount of power. Everybody told you this. So again, you don't get applause for fixing something that you already knew. And Trapper, but like, why did it take so long for Trapper to be addressed? And Furtive Chase, why did you even waste the PTB, the last PTB, to be like, well, we know that you love Furtive Chase, so we're going to make it so that it does the same thing. But you lose one less or one more terror radius for each hook. Like, why did you do that? That was stupid. That was dumb. If you were going to touch Furtive Chase, you already knew that you needed to do something like this. Is this better? It's better. Is it good? No, but it's better. So yeah, I don't. That's you're probably going to hear my takeaways for the next all the dev updates be like this. But for what it's worth, this this is good. Now the things in it are good, and yeah, we'll see what you see. So if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment, and until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.